Hello and welcome. And I'm really pleased this evening that we have Glenda Joseph, and our focus is on women in project management. Good evening, Glenda.
Hi, good evening. Hello.
Good to meet you. Glenda Joseph is a highly experienced chartered project professional with an extensive UK government delivery across infrastructure and digital IT projects. A skilled project consultant, mentor, coach, supporting professional project management delivery and development both in the UK and internationally. Glenda is a retired UK civil servant, senior leader with expertise in delivering large and complex projects. Glenda, that's most impressive.
Okay, it's my career.
So, Glenda, before we get started, just tell us a bit about your family background.
Okay, well, my family originate from Dominica in the Caribbean, which is an Eastern Caribbean island, very beautiful island if you ever want to go and visit it. Um, I was born here with my other two sisters in the UK, and have lived here all of my life. But of recent times, I've been sort of venturing a little bit more into the Caribbean and starting to look for opportunities where I can actually take my project management experience.
Excellent, excellent. So, why did you decide on a career in project management?
Well, I more or less sort of fell into project management, if I'm honest. It wasn't my first career. My first career, I've always been a public servant until I retired only recently. But it wasn't something that I thought about. I did a social science degree um, at university, and I then worked for many years within the public sector. Um, and it was only when I started to go and sort of work for the civil service that I started to really get involved in projects. And I did a lot of criminal justice type of projects, working more with local authorities, with government departments, and with communities. And that's how I really got into project management. But it wasn't my original sort of background. It's something that I just fell into by default, but I actually enjoyed it. So I continued with project management as a career and developed it as a career.
What challenges did you face when you were starting and as you progressed through your career?
The challenges that I faced originally were really trying to get my sort of credentials, as it were, together in terms of a good portfolio. Because what I found that in terms of developing your project management career, you're always probably as good as the last project that you ran. And as we know that a lot of projects do not, well, don't always succeed. And there are lots of hurdles along the way. It was very important to get a range of projects at a very early stage. So the main challenge I had was to build a portfolio of different types of projects, not all the same type of projects, but to test my skills on lots of different levels in terms of project management. So I think that was one of the biggest challenges, getting that experience to be able to have that wide portfolio and that sort of that sort of expertise that I could actually then build on. So that was the major challenge, getting started and having as much experience in a wide range of projects as possible.
And how did you find being a woman in a very much male-dominated world?
Well, to be quite honest, um, it wasn't so much a problem for me personally, but I did feel that when I first started, and still to a degree now, there weren't that many women around. So, in many respects, you were always the only woman sometimes in a room, or maybe one or two others. Particularly when you led a project, I did feel sometimes that, people were saying, right, okay, who's a project manager, and were sort of veering straight towards the men. And I'd say, oh, well, look, I'm a project manager. Yeah, that's it. Okay, fine. I think the thing is really in terms of women in project management and how did I find it? I think basically I didn't feel as though I had to compete with the men, but I felt as though I had to operate in a very different way. It was very easy to sort of emulate how men behaved in a project management environment. It's quite a describe it. It can be quite cutthroat at times, and because you're driven always by results, and the delivery is the key thing in any project. And sometimes I think some of the sort of softer sort of skills are not always prevalent in project management, particularly if you're working in a very male environment, just because I think that, it's that more technical, that specialist type of skills, and that more sort of clinical execution of a project. Whereas I felt that as a woman, I personally, and some of the women, the very good project management women that I worked with, it was more than that. You know, there wasn't always one way to succeed in terms of delivering a project. So I just felt that as a woman, I brought a lot more to that experience or that environment generally. But
And
not really. I didn't feel that it would have been nicer to have some more women around, I must admit, but it didn't inhibit me personally in terms of delivering projects.
how did you navigate acquiring your project management qualifications and skills and balance that with your family life?
Okay, so I just felt that it was really important to acquire as many project management qualifications as possible. That gave me the credentials that I needed. So the trajectory that I went on was to start off with the standard Prince 2, and then start to look at in more in terms of, and then managing successful programs. Obviously, the portfolio became more of a program manager rather than just project management at times. And then it was also really trying to look at ways in which I could then start to develop the leadership in project management. So, particularly being a member of the Association for Project Management, APM, there was a lot more leadership that I could do within that context, and also within the civil service. Um, there was a lot more opportunities to do more leadership in terms of project management. So as you developed in terms of your project management career, it was more about being a project leader than just a project manager as it was. So in effect, I felt that those credentials were very much backed up by qualifications and obviously the skills. And then the second part of that question about how did I balance that in terms of just day-to-day life and domestic situations. It was anything that you want. Well, it's anything that you want to do. You're just going to have to try and find a way around it. Um, a lot of the studying you could do, or I could do, in work time anyway. So, because obviously work was supporting the development of myself and others as project managements and leaders in the project world.
Mhm.
But I would say that for any woman who's going forward, I think because of the environment, it's so important to have those skills and qualifications, and we can acquire them just like anybody else. And I just think it's how you balance that out against what other commitments you've got, in terms of domestic, etc. But yeah, if you can get yourself with an employer that can support you, then hopefully they'll allow you time within your day-to-day work, because obviously you've got to be able to demonstrate that in practice. And therefore, hopefully, if they allow that, then it's not so bad that, it's a lot of it is on the job as well as the methodology and the actual techniques and skills that you would acquire. So it's a bit of both.
But for those people who might be interested, can you just describe the difference between project management and program management?
Yeah. Okay. So project management, you're probably looking at managing a single project. So it's more of a specific project that you're responsible for, and you're leading that project, or you're involved in that project, because obviously you could be a project professional within a project team.
Mhm.
Program is a lot of portfolios that sit underneath a major. So the portfolios would be sort of like mini projects that sit underneath the portfolio of a program. So therefore, a program manager would have that sight of a number of initiatives that would feed up into the strategic goals of that program, and therefore you may have I don't know how many that are actually feeding into actually achieving the outcomes that you want. So that you would have more sort of mini projects, but they'd all have an interrelation or connectivity between each of them. And they'd all be fulfilling a particular strand of actually the outcome that you're trying to achieve. So program management is just really taking it at another level, just in terms of having that more strategic view over a series of projects.
So how do you encourage other women to enter the profession?
Well, I've encouraged loads of women to enter this profession, and how I do it is I've done lots of mentoring, I've done lots of coaching, I've had lots of people job shadow me, I've done lots of master classes, teachings, etc. And what I've tried to do is inspire other women who basically, the women that I've inspired, particularly from my recent career in the civil service, are those that wanted a change of career. And they just felt that they've got a lot more to give in terms of um, enhancing their skills. And so what I've tried to do is get them to look at what transferable skills they've got. So for a lot of the women, I'd say, right, well, you were doing such and such type of role, might be more of an operational type of role, but those transferable skills could actually lend themselves to project management. So I've encouraged people to see a little bit bigger than where they're at, think outside the box. A lot of women are looking for a little bit more autonomy in a role. I think that project management gives them that as well, where they may not be as senior in their respective um, roles that they've got within any organisation or whatever they're doing. But when they become into the project management world or become project managers, etc., they can assume more autonomy because those decisions are having to be taken on a day-to-day basis. So just really the encouragement and the facilitation to help people through the mentoring. You can help to navigate somebody's career. You can sort of give them connections and networking opportunities with others, as well as actually the coaching as well, helping them to actually achieve their goals. And then the job experience. I've brought loads of people onto some of the projects I've worked on, so they've just been able to get some time, additional time from their managers or their employer to say, can we just work alongside Glenda? We can gain some skills. And then that's actually helped them on their journey. So it's just really looking at where they are at that particular point, and then actually getting them to do some kind of career planning and then take it forward in terms of what the long-term goals are, and then try and break it down into sort of smaller chunks in terms of how they can achieve that.
Excellent. So you are a chartered project professional. So could you tell us a bit more in what are the steps to reach that
Yeah.
level?
Okay. Well, um, chartered, chartered project professional. The only organisation that you can get chartership with is the Association for Project Management, APM. That's the only one that you can get chartership with. And in civil service, a number of us who've been project managers for a long time, project professionals, we were encouraged to actually go forward with chartership. So how the process works is you've got to have a minimum of, correct, at least 10 years experience of being a project professional. It doesn't mean you have to be a straight project manager in any sense. You could be somebody who's managed stakeholder manager or benefits management. Some context within project management as specialist or more generic. These 10 years, you then have to build a portfolio up through different competencies to address those skills that you acquired and the experience. Yeah, well, I collect it was like about 10,000 words, like a dissertation that you have to write. And then that's presented to APM, who then actually assess it. And you get through that first stage of the assessment, and the next stage is a 2-hour interview. So you have a 2-hour interview where you're actually then interviewed and questioned around your portfolio and a number of areas, technical areas around project management as well. And if you get through all of that, then you actually become chartered. And that's the process. And the thing is that the Association for Project Management, APM, they're wanting more people to become chartered project professionals because there is a cadre of project professionals across the UK and worldwide, because they're also reaching into other continents and countries as well, that they feel actually have achieved that level and that status, and therefore the chartership is actually really gives you that accreditation in terms of your achievement at that level. So that's the chartership process.
Okay. So finally, what specifically do you think women bring to project management?
Well, I think specifically women bring they probably just bring a little bit more of, and I said this, not saying that men don't, but a little bit more maybe of a sort of a human touch to project management. Sometimes project management can be seen as quite clinical because, you've got methodologies, you've got techniques, you've got to apply skills, there are processes, and there is a way in which and frameworks in which you operate. So all of that can be a bit quite technical and a little bit quite standardized. Whereas I think women can bring a bit more of a human touch to it. And in many respects, I think, what a woman can bring to a project management experience is, we all bring insight into any roles that we do. We should try and do that. We should all try and bring more of ourselves into that particular role to actually give it some more credibility and validate a lot of things that we want to test out. Because projects is about testing out things as well as about delivering things and that to change things. But I think a woman just actually probably has a little bit more insight. I would dare to say a little bit more patience sometimes when things don't quite work out. Um, Probably a little bit more tolerance in terms of things not always going the way it should do. I think both men and women bring creativity, but maybe thinking outside the box a little bit more and just trying to understand the situation slightly differently. And also, I think, we talk about inclusion. I think, both men and women can adopt inclusive approaches, but maybe a woman can actually want to reach out a little bit further than what we would traditionally say are the usual suspects within a project management environment and might look beyond that just because of maybe experiences that they've had in terms of people bringing them on, giving them opportunities to develop within that field as well. So maybe reach out a little bit further, maybe. Yeah.
So
But this is all speculation here.
I think you're alluding to that broader relationship building and perspectives, and particularly if you do have a wide range of stakeholders from different backgrounds, could be different cultures as well. Could you just say a bit of how you've handled any particular situations where you felt bringing that broader perspective did help achieve the goals that were set, despite the challenges that the project may have been in?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's just about how you look at something from a different perspective, really. I mean, you ultimately know what it is you're going to achieve or you want to achieve, whether you achieve it or not in project management.
Mhm.
Project delivery is another thing, but you know where you're going and you know where you need to go. And I think the only thing I would say about that is in terms of that wider perspective and just understanding all those nuances and that those things are really important because in any kind of sense in project management, you've got to understand the bigger picture as well. You've got to understand the context in which you're going to actually deliver something, because at the end of the day, we don't want to deliver something that actually doesn't have a benefit. So we're thinking about benefits, which we should always have benefits in the forefront of our mind when we're delivering any project, who's going to benefit and how's that benefit going to be realized. Then at the end of the day, we have to take into account all those different aspects that might be impacted by the change. Yeah, because project is about changing something, whether it's a process, whether it's a product,
Mhm.
yeah, whether it's transforming something from what it was a current state to a future state. So we've always got to be mindful of what that change is going to mean and what that impact is going to be on various, whether it's communities, whether it's, you know, um, uh, opportunities for people in the future or how it will make things better, etc. So, projects should always be about improving something and about making something worse. So,
Thank you. So I'm just going to ask you one final question. Um, a young person, could be male or female, not sure what they're going to do. How would you say to them project management is a field that they should consider? What would you say?
well, I would say if you're a person that likes to change things,
Mhm.
but you like to change things within a structure that will actually help determine how that change occurs.
Mhm.
If you're somebody that likes to be creative, but also be quite technical as well in terms of how you apply that creativity. If you're somebody who basically likes a challenge, but you're not always you're comfortable with uncertainty at times, yeah,
Mhm.
because projects can be uncertain lots of times. And if you're somebody who basically likes to have quite a lot of autonomy,
Mhm.
but also work in a consensual way so that you can bring people together, then I would say project management is something to think about. And it can be within any field. You could be an engineer and you're going to do projects. You could be in the, I don't know, medical profession and you're going to run some kind of project to change something in a provision or a service. You could be in the arts and you want to, you know, put on a production and you've got to get a project around how we're going to improve, we're going to create this new production and how we're going to take it to a community. So it's lots of different fields. So I would just say, look for the opportunities, but also think about what type of person you are. There isn't something that makes a person that makes a good project manager. I think a lot of it is through just really testing out lots of different things in terms of types of things that you want to change, and then also seeing what kind of skills that you can apply to that. And that will tell you a lot more about yourself in terms of something. I never thought I was an IT person. I never touched IT projects till I went into the civil service. And it was like, I can't do IT projects, but I can. And most of the projects I've delivered have been IT, but I don't have an IT background.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't have an infrastructure background. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I would say don't worry too much about the subject,
Mhm.
but think about how you would apply your abilities to delivering a change in relation to that subject. I think that's the most important thing. Yeah.
That's excellent advice. And thank you very much.
You're
And just
welcome.
to remind everybody, Glenda Joseph, a highly experienced chartered project professional. Thank you very much and good day.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye.